Hello.
Hello.
Okay, so I'm going to give it a few minutes while I'm waiting for some people to join, if anyone else will.
Okay. What are you covering today?
So today I'm going to go over one design, specifically over sending postcards to a radius surrounding a property that you have as a client.
Awesome.
I'll turn up my volume a bit because it's a little quiet. Okay, and I'm just gonna wait until it hits 33 and then I'll dive in. I know Julie's gonna be hopping on, but she's running a little late, so.
Yeah, I got a little confused. I was like, am I the only one coming today?
Might be. I mean, Julie was the only person on the last one when we talked about, I think we talked about Skyslope. Yeah, we talked about Skyslope, transactions and listings, but we still went through it all as if there were other people. And it actually turned out to be convenient timing because then Nick joined and Jennifer, and neither of them knows Skyslope or is comfortable with it. I mean, Nick is brand spanking new and Jennifer has not worked in Skyslope, but she's pretty quick on picking things up. And then Angela and one other person needed some clarification on some stuff. So it ended up being good timing for that too. So that answered their questions. So
Good.
all right, so we'll go ahead and dive in. Let me share my screen. Okay, all right, so starting from your one login dashboard, you're going to go to one design. And once it loads, in this rhetorical situation, I've just sold a property and I want to order postcards and send them to the 100 houses that are closest to that property, that are single family homes, so that I can advertise myself and hopefully get some other listings. So now I'm going to go to property marketing, and you have different size options, but I'm going to go with small postcards. And if you want to know what size that is, once you click on it, you're going to see the size listed. So the small postcard is 4.25 by 5.5. And the one that I'm going to go with today is this one, because that's personally my preference out of all of those ones. I like this one best. So now after you click on the option you want to look at, you can preview the back template too. So if you just want to take a quick look and make sure you like the back as well. And then after that, you're going to click on the customize option. And you guys won't see this, but since I've got access to see an order for other people, I get this drop down. So I'm going to just choose myself. And once it loads, then you're going to get the prompts for all of the information about the property and what you want on this postcard. So you'll want to name your order. I would recommend doing the property address, the first line of it, and then also do what state of the transaction it is in. So coming soon, open house, just sold, whatever it is, because you may end up wanting to do multiple postcards for a single property. So I'm going to use a property that is nearby where I live. So I'm doing 106 Bryn Mawr Avenue. And I'm going to pretend like I just sold it. And then for the office return address, I did update this earlier. So originally it said advisor's office and I updated it, and then I clicked on, and that would be Julie walking in. So after that, I clicked on save as default office return address, and now it shows up correctly. So if you go in and initially it doesn't look correct, just click on this little box at the bottom so that when you go in next time, it'll already be defaulted to the correct information here. So now for the headshot, if you don't already have a headshot in Zone, you'll need to add one. But if you already have one added to Zone, it will default to whatever that headshot is. So it's already got one in for me. And whenever you add images in one design, it'll tell you what quality level it is based on the size of the image. So if it's not quite large enough and it's going to show up poorly because it's going to be pixelated or something of that nature, you'll get a little warning. So it's telling me it's medium quality. So I can get away with it. But if I was really printing these, I would probably take the time to make sure that I had a higher resolution photo. And you can also, if you upload a photo and the default cropping isn't to your liking, you can go in and change that. Or you can even make it grayscale if you don't like the color version. So now I'm on to photos of the property. So there's only one spot for a photo. So I'm just going to add one photo. It's going to ask me to upload, or I can choose from previous orders. So if, for instance, I had done an open house postcard, I can go to previous orders and select the photo that I used in that one. But I'm just going to, for this one, choose a brand new image. So I'm going to click browse, and I downloaded a photo of this picture perfect home, and I'm going to use that photo. And as you can see, it's already warning me that it's low resolution, which I'm not really printing these. Otherwise, I would make sure I don't have a low resolution photo, but keep in mind that if it's low quality, then that person is going to receive the printout and it may not look great. And you do want this to be like a professional representation of you and your work. So do try and have like high quality images. So now for content, you're going to fill in, as the headings state, the information. Some of the headings do have the option to customize what they are. So I'll go ahead and I'll just start filling in some of the information. So 106 Bryn Mawr Avenue. And I'll point out what I was referring to about customizing the headlines. So this is in Town Square, PA 19073. Now for comments, this is your copy. It's really what you're going to want to use to sell yourself and to get them to reach out to you somehow. This is where you're going to want to put your call to action and something that is like your 30-second interview, like how to boost yourself up about what you did great with this property. So there are some suggested copy presets. So if you go in here, I'm going to do this as just sold. So there are some in here for that. So sold in X days, or sold another, or we just sold. It's a great time to buy a home. A quality agent isn't easy to find. And then talking about how you've done better than some of the other agents or something like that. So I'm going to start with the sold in X days one. And at the bottom, click save. And it does have some others in there as well. So if I go back in, scroll down, you'll see it pre-populated. And then I'll have to replace the number of days, but there are some others in here too. So I can do a subheadline, comments, and this definitely has more text if I wanted to fill that out. But I'm just going to click cancel since I already selected one. And I'm going to change the number of days to 3. So sold in 3 days, exclamation point. Contact me to see what your home is worth. And when you generate a mock-up of this, you'll see what it looks like. And it's a good idea to try and get a feel for how much text you've put in here, because you don't want it to look too empty. You want to take advantage of all of the space that you have. So once it loads, you'll see it looks a little sparse here. And it also doesn't have the heading anymore because I reproofed it before adding that in. So now for the headline, this is where the gold text was up here a moment ago. It has it split between the first and second word, so it looks a little odd when you go in to select it, but I want mine to say just sold. So for the first headline, I'm going to choose just, and for the second one, I'm going to choose sold. But as you can see, they have other options. So open house, or just listed, or coming soon. So they are pretty standard, so it shouldn't be too difficult to figure out what you want to put there. And then for bedrooms, bathrooms, square foot, and lot size, those show up here. So you want to fill in what that information is for the property. So 2, 3, 1,000, and lot size I'll do is 0.5 acres. You do have the option with some of these templates to change the headings that are around the property. So some of them you can put kind of like booster phrases like great basement and other items that kind of talk about what great features the property has. And some of the postcard templates will have like 3 or 4 of those, and you'll just have to go through the specifications of the postcard and make sure that you update those headlines to what you want them to be. So for this one, it doesn't have that though. It only has the preset bathroom, bedroom, square foot, and lot size. But you can, if you check this box here, you could remove lot size if you wanted to. So I'm going to continue going through. I'm going to set my title as Realtor, as you can see from my previous test of doing this. And then for my phone labels, I'm going to make sure that they know that this is my mobile phone and this is the office phone, so that when they go to call me, they start with the mobile phone instead of the office one, so they can get me more quickly. And then I can add in my website. So I'll add in the domain, and you can also remove these. So if it's got a checkbox, you can remove it from the postcard. Then I'm going to add in my phony agent license and phony broker license. And then after all of this information is filled in, you can click here to reproof, but reproofing up there is optional, but you have to click on either this blue button here, generate final proof, or this blue button down here in order to proceed, because it wants you to ensure and acknowledge that you have looked at what it's going to look like and it looks good. So once it loads, give it a moment. Okay, there we go. So now you've got your text is all filled in, the photo is in there, you can see yourself and your information and make sure it looks all good. And to take the time to read through it and make sure there aren't any typos or anything that might be concerning for another reason. And then these terms here, the first one is I have looked through it and I acknowledge that any mistakes I have made are my undoing, basically. So make sure that you do read through your proof. COVID-19 disclosure that basically says make sure that the place you are getting this delivered, if you're going to get all of them delivered to the same address, make sure that that place is open. So our office is open if you want to ship it to us. This will only show up if you've got a low quality image. That's why it's red. So I acknowledge that my image is low quality. This is just a test run through, but you generally want to make sure that that doesn't display. And then it will give you a little note about the text size. So it gives you a recommendation on how big it should be. And then we're going to continue. Okay, so now you can ship the order to one single address and then you can do the shipping. But what we're actually going to talk about today is getting it shipped through them, and they will send it out to the addresses automatically. So I'm going to use the complete mailing service. And if you were to do the ship the order to me, you would get all of the postcards in one bundled package, and then you would be responsible for sending them out or handing them out, putting them in mailboxes. So I'm going to click next. And then for this postcard, I've only got first class mail as an option. So I'm going to click next again. You can see a quote for the price. Okay, so now once you're here, you've got a couple options for how you can ship it out. You can upload a list of addresses. You can use a radius list, which is what we're going to do today. So that'll do a certain number of houses that are closest, or I shouldn't say houses, a certain number of properties that are closest to the property that you use as the center. And then street list, you can choose the streets on which you want the cards to be sent to, and then based off of demographics is the last one. So as you can see in the little tooltip here, it talks about some of the options. So gender, income, age, homeowners, renters, etc. So what I'm going to do is the radius list. So when I click on that, so I can choose the, oh, I already sent it to voicemail.
Okay.
So I choose the address for the center of my search. I type in the property zip code, address type. So this is, where do you want the postcards to be sent to? Do you want it to be sent to both single and multifamily homes, or just one or the other? So if I focus on people who already are homeowners that have experience in purchasing a home and selling a home, perhaps, then I would want to choose single family. If I want to possibly like branch into brand new homeowners, then I probably want to do like multifamily if that's like my niche, because people who are living in apartment complexes are more likely to be brand new homeowners. And then search quantity. So this is how many addresses do you want it to be sent to? How many?
I saw one. I let 2 out yesterday. He was upstairs.
And when you do the search quantity, keep in mind that when you go to the next screen, one of the addresses that's going to be included is the address that you used as your center. So the property that you have the open house for, or that you just sold, that's going to be one of the addresses listed. So you want to actually add 1 to this, because you're going to reduce it by 1 in the next step. So if I want to send out 100 postcards, I'm actually going to type in 101, because it's going to include this address initially, and then I'll remove it. So I'm going to click 101 in here and then click search. And it's going to load. Okay, so it's showing me that it pulled 101 addresses near that area. So I'm going to click the edit icon because I want to look through those. Interesting. It's not showing me the addresses. Okay, I'm going to click view all. Typically, if you click on the edit icon, it'll list off all of the properties, but for some reason, it is not doing that for me. Okay. I'm going to change the home address then, because it seems to not like this test one I used, 106 Bryn Mawr.
Can you mute Rob while you're doing that?
No, sure. Let me see. Ah, yes, there we go. I muted him. Okay.
Silence.
So I don't know why it doesn't like this address, but I'm going to change it to a different one that it will hopefully like a little better. So I'm going to do my apartment complex because I just did that one a moment ago and it was working. So I'll do that. Oh, it's because I chose multi-family. I meant to choose single family. Okay, there we go. Let me actually change that back then. I caught my mistake. Okay, so single family is what I want. I'm going to click search, and then it's going to show me actual addresses. Okay, much better. All right, so now I see these are the streets that it's giving me addresses on. All of these addresses total 101. So the one that I know I need to remove is the property that I am using as the center. So this 106 Bryn Mawr Avenue, I want to make sure that that is not going to get a postcard. So I'm going to go to the Bryn Mawr Avenue street properties, and I'm going to click on this edit icon. And then you're going to see what I was trying to do earlier. Once it loads, it will list off all of the properties that it's going to send postcards to. So now the one I want to remove is this 106 Bryn Mawr Avenue. So I'm going to uncheck that and click update list. Now, as you're going through, if you know that you don't want to send it to these, you can uncheck those as well. But the one that you always want to make sure you remove is the property that you've already worked on. Because that person already knows that you just sold the property, they are your client. So it doesn't really do any good to send it to them. So now once you've got that updated, you'll see removing that property has brought me back down to 100. So hopefully it makes sense why I put 101 earlier on, because I did want an end total of 100 postcards. So now for the address options, after you've gone through and made sure these are all the right properties you want, for the address options, you can either use the owner name, so it will use like the USPS change of address information that they have to input like the owner of that address. So it'll be like Jane Doe and then the address beneath it, rather than it replace like current resident or something like that, that is more generic and less personal. So you can choose to do that generic option if you want to make sure that it doesn't accidentally put the wrong name. But the name of the person that actually lives there is going to make it seem a little bit more personal. And then you're going to want to name your list. So the best way to name it is probably with the center and a little description about what parameters you used. So for this one, I did single family homes. So single family near 106 Bryn Mawr Avenue. And then you're going to agree to the terms and conditions and click approved. Okay. So now once I've got that done, you'll see that it's got this list. This is a previous one that I used. If I wanted to, I could use that radius list, but we just set this one up for this. But if in the future you want to use a list over and over again, you can. So that would come in handy, for instance, if you had done an open house already and sent out the postcards for that, then you could check the same list and send out the postcards again once it's sold. But I'm going to stick with the one that I just set up, and I'm going to click next. I'm going to give it a second to finish updating. Okay, so now it'll tell you this is the summary of your order. It's going to send a sample card, so you are going to see exactly what all of those people are receiving, because it's going to send it to your address as well. So you can change that address if you want to send it to your home address instead of the office. And then you're going to get a PDF download, and then you can choose the kind of finish you want. So if you want to go with gloss, matte, etc., it looks like matte is just 10 cents more. And then for the PDF too, that'll be good for you to see what is going to get sent to them as well, because you can print it and then get like a preview. So then you're going to choose if you want it to be sent out in the future, like if, for instance, you know you're settling this Friday and you want to go ahead and set up the order, so then you can schedule it to be fulfilled on Friday, but not today because it's not quite sold yet. So then I'll click next. I'm going to pretend like today I closed, so I'm sending it out today. And then the rest of it is very much just like a standard order. Like at this point, you are just choosing your credit card information and if you have promo codes. So I will not proceed to checkout because I don't want to actually pay for this test demo. But I will take a moment and ask anybody if they have any questions on how to do that.
I don't have a question, but I would like to make a comment.
Sure.
So there's a couple different ways you can add addresses too. So you can actually pull a list of addresses from the MLS public records. You can export streets. If you want to target a certain specific streets or a certain neighborhood, you can do that as well. So there's a couple different ways to add addresses, just FYI.
Yep, so that would be just going back to that screen so that people can see that again right here. So once you, assuming that you do still want them to be the one shipping it, you can upload those. So if you did export a list from the MLS, you would use it here to upload the list. If you did want to do the streets, you could use the street list. And I'll open that up so you can see what that looks like. So you can choose the street names and add them to it here. So if I have multiple streets, so Bryn Mawr Avenue is my first street, 9073, and I just want single family homes still, so I'm going to add that. And then we can say I also want Westchester Pike. And just make sure you keep adding the zip code and selecting the address type. And then add the street. And you can keep doing that, accumulating more and more streets until you get to a desired amount that you want to ship out to. And then it takes the same form as it would have after you go through and add and remove addresses in the radius scenario. You would choose what you want for the name and then name your list and then continue onwards. So another thing that you might want to add in your list name is whether you did a radius or a street list. So you might want to do radius for one that is a radius, or if you did something with demographics, that one you definitely would want to put a little bit more information when you're naming it. So you would want to put like what demographics you chose. So if you chose like people over 50 or something like that, just so that you know what it is that you're selecting when you go back to reuse that list if you're sending out multiple postcards. And I can go back and show you the other ones as well. So uploading the list, and let's take a look at the demographic ones. Okay, so let's say I want to choose by demographics. So age range, see, let's pretend I do want someone that's over 50, so I can do 50 to 100. See, income range. I want to look at somebody who makes 40,000 to 100,000, female or male. A lot of this stuff, it looks like it's just going to be pretty, just like read through what the options are and then select it and go through next. So let's pretend like I'm just going to select some random options so we can get to the next screen. The residence is 3. Okay, and it shows you a quote for the price, 9 cents each single use or 11 cents each multiple use. And click next. Minimum requirement of 100 addresses. Okay, so there's a difference between this and the radius search and the street search. So if you want to use demographics, just be mindful you have to use at least 100 addresses. So distance around an address. So we're going to basically do another radius one with this, but with only certain demographics being targeted. So distance from address, let's do 10 miles is probably a bit much, but I will try it. We'll do the 106 Raymar Avenue.
Cassie, you might not need to bump up the income as well to over 100,000. That's okay. I'm just curious to see how that goes.
Do what?
You might want to bump up. You might need to bump up. Let's see how many you get. I'm just thinking you might need to bump up the income over 100,000.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Let's see what you get.
Yeah, that's true. If I want to hit at least 100 people, I will like
Yeah.
you to.
Yeah. If you cap it at 100,000, you probably will want to cap it at like 600,000 or something like that.
Oh.
Oh look, there's 30,000 there. Never mind.
I'm surprised that it pulled that many. Okay. So 100 of the addresses selected at random. 10 miles, I don't have a very good metric of distance, but that must be a rather large radius.
Yeah.
How often will you use this list? So this, going back, if you recall a couple of screens ago, it had a different price quote based off of whether you were going to use this list once or multiple times. So keep that in mind when you're selecting this. The single use was 9 cents, I believe, and multiple use was 11 cents. So we'll select single use and click next. And then this would be the name. So this is, again, where I would recommend typing in some of the information about the demographics that you chose so that at a glance, you can see what it is that you're choosing to send to, who it is that you're choosing to send to. So this was over 50. I'll do a pipe to separate it from the next parameter. And then I believe I did 40K to 100K. And then think I selected female. So I would do something like that. So I get an idea of who is in this list at a glance. And then I would agree to terms and click approved. And then there we go. We have another list. And then I would do the same thing from here. I would select the list of properties or people that I want it sent to and place the order. So now we've seen these three and then upload list. It looks like, I'm trying to see what format for you guys. Okay, so it's got them listed here. So here are the format types that you can upload. So Excel spreadsheets, comma separated value sheets and text files, tab delimited, and then it looks like database files as well. So I'm fairly certain that MLS probably exports as like a CSV or an Excel spreadsheet. So that's probably where it connects here.
Yes, they do. And I'm just little quick side note, if you want to target, like, say, a specific neighborhood, so like you sold a townhouse in the townhouse community and you want to send it to that specific community, you can go into the MLS and type in a community name and then get the addresses that way. I don't think in this format with One Design, you can type in a neighborhood name. You're just looking at streets. So that's one way to, that's another way to do it.
Okay. Do you by chance want to squeeze in a quick little show of how to export a spreadsheet of that? I can send you the ability to share your screen.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to make you the host real quick. And then you should see the options to share your screen. I'm going to stop sharing mine real quick.
Well, let me get into the MLS here. Hello, everybody. Okay. So I think the easiest way is just to search public records. And if I'm going to search a neighborhood, I can say, for example, Exton Station. And then here are my results. Oh, it didn't click. Sorry. Hold on. Exton Station. You have to actually click the name, which I didn't do, obviously. All right. So there's 686 results. So we'll go into those results. Not that you're going to send out to all 686. But you can then, if you wanted to, you could go back and just type in a few street names too. But if, let's just say, let's go back to, let's see, to Hartford and Coach Hill. Let's try that. You can do street names, Hartford. And then, well, look, okay, we'll just do with that one. We have 91. We'll just do that. But let's just assume you do a whole neighborhood. So you're going to get everybody on Hartford Square. And let's just click them all, select all. And I believe you hit export down at the bottom here. You hit export. Actually, it looks like you can send postcards from here too, but I'm not going to do that right now. I don't think I've ever done that. But you can hit export here. And then you have to pick the format. So you want to do name and address, or you can do, I'm not sure the format that would be up. It would be owner mailing labels. I think the owner mailing labels would actually be if you're actually going to print the labels yourself on your own paper. So you can actually do that. But I believe it's name and address. Let's see what that looks like to upload into the One Design. So it's opening up, it's an Excel spreadsheet. Then you can just, I believe you can just save it. And then you can import it over. Is that correct, Cassie? Correct me if I'm wrong. Save.
Well, I have not imported a file, but
Here it is. Here it is. CSV. You can right up here. You can save it as a CSV file. And I believe that's what you can upload as a gazillion.
Yeah, my question real quick is just how it wants it formatted. So let me see real quick. Uploading. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk through real quick what you just did, And I'm going to just make sure that when we do it, that it doesn't have any additional steps for how to map the fields, because sometimes you have to connect which column is which so that it knows. So let me go ahead and, ooh, it did not like me trying to sign into your Bright while you're in.
Oh, you know what? Let me exit. Let me hang up.
Oh.
Yeah.
It gave me all sorts of funky. Okay, there we go. All right, so now I'm gonna do what you just did. So public records, and you did Hartford. And I got 109 because I didn't do the subdivision, but I'm just gonna use those 109. Select all and export. You did name and address. Okay, so the default that it automatically does is the CSV. So I'm going to try and upload that, and I'll share my screen as I do so you guys can see what happens. So share screen 2. So now I've got that file here, name and address. I'm gonna open it and we're gonna see what happens real quick. So we will figure this out as a team.
Yeah, sorry to throw a little curveball there at you.
Yeah. All good. Okay. So.
But I do feel like I've done this before and it did pick up, so.
Okay, perfect. So it looks like it tries to map it initially by itself, and then it has you confirm that it all looks good. So for first full name, obviously 19073 is not the first full name. So we're going to change that. For last name, I believe that would be more accurate. It looks like it did both of them together. So this might be something where you would have to open up the spreadsheet and change it a little bit to separate the first and last name, because it's doing them first, last, and last first.
Yeah,
For
I think
company,
if you're gonna do that for every individual person, it's not worth it to do it. So you're basically, what you want to do is go into the MLS, pull your streets that you want. And then when you go into this system, make sure you have the streets that you want based on what was in the MLS.
Yeah.
Because you can't go through everyone and change.
and I would imagine, and I will check to be sure as we continue doing this, I would imagine that it has the option to do current owner as well for this, even if you do have a list. So for house number, it would be 3206. Address is already correct. Apartment is not needed. City, state, and zip. So this is actually coincidentally also Newtown Square. Okay, so I'm going to click update real quick, and then I'm going to go to next. So after I've made sure that the fields are relatively correct. Okay, so it's showing me a mock-up of all of the addresses. So I do see the names twice because it thinks, as I put it in, that it's first and last. And then it does indeed offer you the option to change it out. So if you wanted to upload a list and then just null out the name, you could change it to current resident.
What if you just leave the first name and then leave the last name blank? Will that
Oh,
fix
that's a good
it?
idea too. Okay, so let's see if I, oh, okay. Yes. Perfect. Okay, so yeah, so let's do field not needed for that. And click update to make sure it saves. And then click next. Perfect.
Boom.
Good thinking, Dan. Okay, so then you don't have to go through and do this. Okay, and then you would be at the same point as you would have with any of the other options. Now you've got the addresses selected based off of the list that you uploaded. So if in this situation, you wanted to remove an address, just remember that you would have to do so in the spreadsheet before you upload the spreadsheet, because it is not giving you the option here to remove it. So you would have to just pop that open, delete the line, and then do what we just did here. And then you could continue and click approved and place your order. Okay. Anything else we should hit on?
No, but I just think that we should get back to mailing. They say that people like to get the mail and read it. So I think we need to go back to doing more mailings.
Yeah, it is nice to get something in the mail. Be like, ooh, I got something to say. It's always like a little sad when you open up the mailbox and it's empty.
Definitely postcards where they can see both sides. I would actually suggest maybe spend a little extra money and doing a little bit larger postcard, like the 5x7 instead of the 3x5, because I think sometimes the lettering, the wording comes out a little bit small.
Yeah, and it did have that warning at the bottom about the text size, which it was odd because it was the default text size. So it was like, just so you know, your text size is small to read. So
Especially if you're targeting people over 50.
yeah.
It's the bigger
Especially.
ones with the bigger text.
Yeah. I am really surprised that was 32,000 people, but regardless.
That was radius, that was big area, so that's what it was. That's why it was.
Yeah. All right. Well, then I think that's good for today. 'Cause we did that. Oh, it's 11:11. Make a wish, guys. But yeah, that was a nice 40-minute session. So I hope you guys have a nice day. And
Thanks, Cassie. Thank you.
you're welcome. Bye.